Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. In this video I'm going to be ranking a load of animated films that came out last year. Now I watched a lot of movies for this video, but if a film you know isn't included in this list, it's not because I forgot it existed. Either the film technically first released in 2022, the movie hasn't been released in the UK yet, the film is based on a franchise or TV show that I'm kind of alien to, or quite simply, I didn't get time to watch it. With all that being said, let the countdown begin. When Disney's live-action remake of their Little Mermaid movie came out last year, infamous mockbuster company Asylum tried to cash in on it with their own animated rip-off. It tells the tale of Princess Aria, who has fallen for a human prince called Lucas, so she makes a deal with the sea witch Ravina, who will turn the princess into a human in trade for her voice. If Saria doesn't win over the prince after a year, then she'll be sent into a dark abyss forever. As your eyes can blatantly tell, this is a horribly animated movie, just dreadful to look at. Characters' big-mouthed expressions can range from unintentional nightmare fuel to hilarious comedy gold, but never actually good.
Do you prefer chicken? Fish?
There's also no attempt at all to make these merfolk actually look underwater, so it's like watching a bunch of fish people flying around in thin air, which is just weird. The script isn't much better. It's so dialogue heavy that it's like these characters have been forced to keep talking at gunpoint. Let these people breathe. Put a gap or pause somewhere. Let's just have one moment of silence from all of the exposition dumping and awkward alien-like conversations.
Father likes us to keep an eye on the humans. Make sure they don't disrupt us down here.
What could a human do? It's impossible for them to turn into a mermaid, and for us to turn human.
Why would you want to give up your beautiful tail? You know they only come second to our beautiful hair.
For you, maybe.
However, the worst writing has to go to the Sea Witch. I have no idea what Ravina's ultimate scheme is supposed to be. She seems to be making things up as she goes along. Most of her trades are kind of shallow and don't play into a bigger plan.
You give me your beautiful, elegant, flowing hair.
Oh, and the fact that our heroine has a whole year to win over the prince kills any tension because a year is a very long time, Ravina. Be a little stricter, come on. All these complaints aside, I do have to fairly acknowledge that the film does do a few things differently to the famous Disney animated film. There's a lot to list, but I'll just give one example. Our Sea Witch doesn't put on a disguise. Instead, the prince's second love interest is a likable human princess, with a sincere passion for fashion studies.
I hope to have my own line within the year, but it's tough to find models out here.
I don't know much about fashion, but they do look good.
Thanks.
Who is only going along with marrying Lucas for political duty. She means no ill will against Saria at all, and even hopes that they can be besties, which makes Saria's mission for the prince's heart way more morally ambiguous, because her romantic competition is actually a good person.
I was thinking, I'm going back to my school after this. You like to learn, clearly, and I think you should join me.
This is a very poorly made movie with wonky, messy animation and very unnatural dialogue, both of which ruin any attempt at serious drama. Heck, some folks have even accused the movie of being AI generated, but there is some stuff here that surprisingly piqued my interest. I kinda wish that more talented artists and writers got their hands on this version of the tale, because there was potential here. The Monkey King. Based on Journey to the West, this movie is about a superpowered monkey being born from a rock and struggling to fit in with his fellow primates. So once he grows up, he uses a magic stick he stole from the Dragon King to try and prove himself as a Monkey King, by doing whatever he can to become a god, with help from a poor girl called Lynn, who has agreed to steal Monkey's stick for the Dragon King, in trade for saving her village. The biggest problem with this film, and why it's so low on my list, has to be Monkey King himself. Yes, our main character is what ruins this movie.
I'm the universe hand, and you're an insignificant, useless pebble.
Do I love the colourful and creative character designs for this film? Yes, but who cares when our lead is Monkey King? Is the villain campy fun? Sure.
Okay, let's bring the sass down to like a 4?
But our hero is still Monkey King. He's an insufferable and selfish narcissistic jerk with no redeemable qualities. He's not funny, he's not charming, he rarely gets humiliated for comedy, and I do not feel sorry for him. I can't even root for him as an action star because his stick does a lot of the work, and sometimes he'll conveniently drag new superpowers out of his butt.
I can? Really? Cool.
The movie relies heavily on Monkey's sad childhood backstory to manipulate audience sympathy, but that won't work if grown-up Monkey swats away every chance to change and hides his emotions with obnoxiousness. He can protect Lynn all he wants to show a heroic side, but he still has the worst attitude to being a hero.
So, you got my big victory speech ready, right? Well then, grab yourself a scroll and take notes, because it's party time!
Speaking of Lynn, I have no freaking idea why this kid ends up befriending Monkey King, feels bad for having to steal his stick from him, and will do anything to help bring out his lonely inner child. Because he treats her like crap, won't help her village, refuses to take her feelings seriously, and doesn't even pay her as an assistant. I actually felt way more sorry for Lynn than Monkey King. She comes from a starving and thirsty village that she's putting her all into saving, despite being malnourished, and has to put up with a terrible master. When Lynn eventually betrays Monkey King, he has the audacity to get mad at her with no self-awareness.
I trusted you, Lynn. I saved you.
I saved you first, and I asked for your help. You said if I want something, don't ask, just take it. That's what you said.
Heck, he uses this betrayal as an entitled excuse to go on an even bigger selfish power trip. Does he ever actually change? Yes, but only in the last 10 minutes, and Buddha has to confiscate his stick and force him to meditate in a cave.
Thank you for everything.
Great, the asshat is finally being nice just before the movie is about to roll its credits. Fan-bloody-tastic. Monkey King, despite how pretty it looks, was one of the hardest films I've ever had to sit through. Look, it's okay to make your main character a jerk who eventually grows, but this is not how you pull off a redemption arc for a flawed hero. Justice League Warworld. In this movie, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman end up jumping between various worlds, all while struggling to remember who they originally were. Now, don't get me wrong, these are really interesting ideas for alternate DC universes, from the gunslinging Wild West to an eerie Roswell-inspired film noir. But that's all they really are, ideas. In execution, the film only explores each place on a surface level, every genre filled with its own tired cliches. This is made even more boring by how our superheroes come off as emotionally distant, as they sleepwalk through their scenes, now and again saying, "Who am I?" or, "Oh, I guess I have special skills."
Who are you?
I don't know.
We get dropped into these worlds at random, then our stays abruptly end, and every visit has no effect on the rest of the film. The flow is so bad that I was deeply confused over what on earth was happening until the final reveal, which turns out to be the generic Matrix twist of, it was all an illusion created by a dark machine, a contraption called Warworld, which depends on abusing the mind of a Martian to work. Throughout most of the film's worlds, there are no clues to this twist to help the audience play detective. You'd expect some glitches in the Matrix, but no, the movie is way more interested in indulging in the style of each universe's genre. Heck, our superheroes don't even start questioning the validity of the illusion until the very last world, so we don't get any real investigating until the final 25 minutes of the film. That's how redundant their adventure has been. What also bothered me is how it weirdly flanderizes these DC characters. Look, I get that they're all supposed to have amnesia, but they are still good guys at heart who have a feeling that they are special people. So it's strange that the filmmakers let Wonder Woman stand idle while a child watches her parents get shot, or Batman sacrifice a character's life for gold.
You can't. I can. You know the rule when running from a beast. Be faster than the man you're with.
To be honest, all of these worlds could have worked for awesome standalone feature films, but instead, we're just watching the filmmakers have shallow fun with each alternate universe, and then swiftly moving on to the next world once bored. I've seen a lot of people call this one of the worst superhero films ever made, and quite frankly, I do think it deserves that reputation. Baby Shark's Big Movie. Based on the hit viral song, this movie is about Baby Shark moving away to the big city so that Mummy Shark can work for pop star Stariana. However, Baby misses his best friend William and struggles to fit in the city. Meanwhile, it turns out that Stariana is actually after Baby Shark so that she can use him to make a new song so catchy that it brainwashes the world. This movie is exactly what I expected it to be. No surprises on my end. It's shallow babysitter fodder that cashes in on the success of an internet meme while hoping to drive even more traffic to said song's YouTube video. It's a film that desperately panders to kids of today too, by shoving in as many pop star cameos as it can into the story, even if said music celebrities cannot voice act to save their lives.
A lot's happened since we saw you back in Carnivore Cove.
So what's going on? You got yourself in a bind, huh?
The movie attempts to be sincere by exploring the hardships of moving and becoming distant from a best friend, which could have made for relatable drama for kids. But the movie mainly plays this plot for giggles.
What if William makes a new best friend while I'm gone? And they make new inside jokes that I'm outside of!
Oh, and the friendship all builds to the annoying Fallout cliche, right down to the moping montage.
You're just gonna leave? What about the Choptacular?
What about it? I'm sure you'll enjoy it without me, just like the rest of your new life.
Our villain, Stariana, is the only thing in this movie with any personality, a campy evil diva who is voiced by a fittingly flamboyant Ashley Tisdale, someone who specialises in playing the musical Mean Girl. However, the irony of the villain being a colourful sea animal who earworms the world population with her own intentionally catchy song is totally lost on the movie itself.
With this, I can steal the music from any fishy's soul. Whatever song they have in their heart will be replaced by mine, and they'll be obsessed with me!
Speaking of the songs, I guess they'll keep kids' attention. To me though, they sound like your generic kids bop songs that you hear on the radio, the kind that parents throw on to keep their children quiet on long car trips.
We can't sync when we sing together.
Oh, and as you might have noticed, despite being based on a song that made a huge profit and being backed by Hollywood mega studio Paramount, the film's animation isn't that much better from the quality you'd expect from a regular Pink Fong YouTube video. There's maybe a 10 or 20% production improvement. There's barely any effort to make the supposed movie cinematic enough to excite kids. Look, I know that this movie was made for little preschoolers, and sure, toddlers will happily watch it while ignoring all the flaws I've mentioned, which is totally fine, let kids enjoy what they want. But there's so many great preschool movies out there, ones that actually put in the effort, and respect children as audiences. So Pink Fong had no excuse to slack off this much, while treating young kids like money farms for their viral song empire. Rally Road Racers. Ji is a slow loris who tires of his community's laid-back traditions and wants to become a famous racer. So when the arrogant Archie Vanglorious threatens to destroy the slow loris village to make way for a Toad paradise, Ji enters the Silk Road Rally under the coaching of retired racer Nash, and makes a bargain with Archie to save his home. However, Archie sends a cute slow loris called Shelby to distract Ji from the rally. A lot of creatively bankrupt movies came out last year, but to call Rally Road Racers unoriginal would be an understatement. Look, I know that not every film can be 100% original, but a line has to be drawn when a movie hits extreme deja vu this much. Not only is this a Cars knockoff that copies the story of an overconfident racer who gets coached by a retired legend, so that he can prove himself as a rookie and beat a smug celebrity racer, only to learn that helping others is more important than winning.
We're gonna lose a ton of time, kid.
I know, but I entered the Silk Road Rally to save family.
But it also directly lifts from the Hades and Meg plot from Disney's Hercules. I'm not being overdramatic, Vogues. It's exactly the same.
When I say jump, you say...
You say...
How high?
What the... Shelby and Vainglorious? Oh no, this is gonna kill the kid.
If I say I want Wonder Boy's head on a platter, you say...
Medium or well done.
Oh, I knew that dame was trouble. This is gonna break the kid's heart. I mean, your little chickie poo here was working for me all the time.
The Lady Loris works for me.
No,
Sweetheart, babe.
It's not like that. I didn't mean to. No, wait, it's not like that.
The voice acting is also very phoned in. J.K. Simmons sounds like he's on sedatives.
Yeah, I've probably seen every one of your races.
You have?
You got raw talent and you got guts, but you're missing something.
While John Cleese is clearly way too old to be voicing a charismatic cartoon villain.
How can you even be allowed to do this?
Quite easily, actually, because who really knows what a slow loris is, eh? Now, if you were pandas, forget about it. But slow lorises, please, who even cares?
Saying all this, I do think that the film has its mild charms. Like, after G rescues his fellow racers, they all become his friend, and do whatever they can to help him be on equal footing with everyone else, because they know he's financially disadvantaged. It adds a sense of community to the racers that's kind of wholesome.
Touch of nitro would help you seal the deal.
Yeah, that'd be great, but nitro's a bit outside our budget, which is nothing.
我们可以帮忙，作为感谢。
Whoa, seriously? Thanks.
I also like that G's crush is an androgynous biker lady with a witty sense of humour. She might be a rip-off of Hercules' Megara, but at least the movie adopts Meg's best qualities.
A racer and a great conversationalist. My lucky day.
While giving Shelby a unique design for a love interest. Rally Road Racers does naff all special as an animated sports movie. It's just babysitter fodder for parents to give to their kids if they ask for a Cars 4, but there are reasons why it isn't lower on my list. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas Cabin Fever. In this seasonal Disney Plus special, Greg and Rowley accidentally roll a giant snowball into a plow truck, and they become wanted criminals for property damage. The boys plan to clear the evidence, but suddenly, they're snowed in their homes. Then, to make things worse, a power cut comes right out of nowhere. The Wimpy Kid animated specials have become an annual torture for me when making these yearly ranking videos. And this one has its stink lines too. Despite being marketed as a festive film, it's rather mean-spirited and depressing, because we're just watching Greg's family suffering and fighting while trapped inside.
All right, let's see here. 120 toilet paper rolls, 3 cases of water. Wait a minute! There's a case missing. And where are the cans of yams? I think one of you boys is hoarding supplies.
This would have been fine if this was a funny comedy movie, one that cooked up great humour from all of its tragedy, but it's like watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation without the warm charm.
Okay, that ought to do it. Everyone gets 3/4 of a wall and 5 gumdrops. And no seconds! We have to save the roof for dinner.
However, I hate to say it, but this is actually the best Wimpy Kid animated movie that Disney has made so far. I know that's not a praise. It's like saying that out of 3 garbage bins, I'd most likely eat out of this one. But hear me out, we do get some decent antagonists. Like Roderick isn't just a mean big brother this time. He's genuinely passionate about collecting the reward money for the wanted criminals, which forces him to be creative with the power cut's limitations. And his frequent close calls to exposing Greg as the culprit add some fun tension to the dreary winter blues.
It's alive! It's alive!
Oh, and Greg's mum introduces an elf plushie that she claims is a spy for Santa, which pushes Greg even further to the edge, all while the film toys with whether this teddy is actually alive, or it's all just in Greg's imagination. But the star on top of this film's wonky Christmas tree has to be its surprising ending. You see, Greg has been super excited about getting a new video game console. Then, when he meets the driver of the plow he damaged, he learns that she now can't afford a good Christmas gift for her son.
So, you, getting anything good for Christmas this year?
Yeah, a new video game system.
Oh, man, you lucky dog. Yeah, my Tyler wanted one of those, but I'm gonna have to save up my pennies before I can afford something like that. But next year, though, next year.
So, Greg makes the big sacrifice of giving away his dream console to the plow lady. It's a lovely Christmas gesture, and an unexpected wholesome side to a usually selfish character. Christmas Cabin Fever, like every Wimpy Kid cartoon special, is a slog to sit through, but little things do help it to be at least watchable compared to the other two. Katak the Brave Beluga. Katak is a young beluga who is very close to his grandma, but when she reveals she's dying, she says that she wishes that she could see Katak's long-lost grandpa one more time. So Katak goes on an adventure to find his granddad before his granny passes away. While it's sweet that Katak's goal is to reunite his grandparents, Katak himself is often way too easily distracted to keep the ball rolling for his mission. Heck, sometimes it's like he forgets that his grandma is dying right now, and he'll start casually playing with new friends like time isn't running out.
Let's play! Come on!
I have no idea which overall tone the film wants to go for either. Sometimes it's a melancholic and bleak environmental fable.
Well, as of right now, there's no denying it. We're on the brink of extinction. And pretty soon, there won't be one beluga left in the river.
If only we knew why it was happening to us.
It was the noise that stressed out Estelle.
Other times, it's a cutesy comedy adventure across the ocean.
And I thought we were the last ones in the world. All right, come on, let's go. And where are we going? To find the other one. So that means that there's 3 of us?
Sure, a film can be more than one thing, but Attack never proves that it can be both of these things at the same time. The movie also tries to do its own version of Shark Tale's Lenny and Don Carlo, with its antagonist Jackknife and his daughter Jacqueline. The whole predator not accepting their vegetarian child plot, except it can't decide what angle to take it. Like at first, Jackknife seems like a one-dimensional carnivore who doesn't give a crap about his kid, and nothing indicates that he actually cares deep down. He comes off more possessive than loving.
I don't need you, understand?
I do. But when you'll be back, little girl, you'll soon realize that you need family. And your family is me.
Then, in the last half an hour of the movie, the film randomly decides that Jacqueline means the world to Jackknife, and he gets to have a big dramatic sacrifice scene.
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have...
My little girl.
Sorry movie, but that's not how villain redemptions work. You can't suddenly decide that Jackknife is this struggling, emotionally stunted dad just because you want an emotional finale at the last minute. However, I do appreciate that the film lets Jacqueline grieve her father despite their complicated relationship, and the fact that he was supposed to be the movie's scary baddie. That's surprisingly mature for a film like this.
I didn't think I needed him, but now that he's not here...
I understand.
Attack is a badly paced and boring film with a lot of confusion over its identity, plus butchers any ideas it rips off other movies. Heroes of the Golden Masks. This Canadian animated movie is about an orphan boy called Charlie being magically transported to another world after being chosen as the newest member of the Heroes of the Golden Masks, who are tasked with stopping the evil Kunyi from stealing a powerful weapon. It's basically your generic isekai movie. You know the drill, you know what to expect. Modern lingo confusing fantasy world characters.
Does this job have benefits?
Benefits?
Oh, like, paid holidays, a 401k, health and dental, a bonus structure.
And the stock dialogue that comes packaged with every Stuck in Another World cartoon.
And we need you, Charlie.
Personal space. I'm not staying here, and I've no home to go back to.
The movie tries to pull off this sympathetic orphan thief redemption story, which could have made for a gripping exploration into whether a criminal can become a superhero. But Charlie himself treats everything in this world like a joke.
You do understand that, right? What's really at stake here?
Let me guess. The fate of the entire world.
Plus, Charlie never seems like he's struggling between two paths, because the movie rushes his bond with his new superhero team, and the film has to force a lies reveal by pointing out that he considered betraying them at the start of the movie.
You must have broken into the chest and...
That's not fair.
Your plan was to steal all the masks.
The plan changed.
No, you'll never change.
As for the superhero team themselves, well, I kinda liked Aesop, a wholesome, jolly, nautical himbo, and the only member with any personality.
The big and big-hearted Aesop from the lost city of Atlantis.
I got you, Charlie. You're kind of a cute little guy now, aren't you?
However, the rest are duller than cold porridge, each one mainly defined by their powers. The film wants to play them off as some kind of family, but they fight and argue more often than they enjoy each other's company.
So? Do it. It is also said, make me.
It is also said, stupid Sue better shut up.
I never ever cared about what was happening in this fantasy world. I couldn't be bothered less if the heroes lost, or this dimension got taken over by a villain, who is just a run-of-the-mill baddie that follows the recycled formula of summoning monsters of the week to try and break down the one sane gate.
No, not gonna do it.
So close, so close.
I'd forgive a lot of the film's failings if it was at least nice to look at. I'm not saying it's an ugly film, but it does obviously have the budget of an after-school cartoon episode, and the film gives in to these limitations. The fight scenes are very clunky and stiff too. They'll keep kids' eyeballs on the screen, but they're pretty unimpressive and forgettable in a year in which we got a TMNT movie and a Spider-Verse sequel.
Why you? Take this!
Oh, and I have zero idea why the villager kids look like 50-year-old men.
You sure don't look like a hero, mister.
And you don't look like a real child. If you missed Heroes of the Golden Masks last year, then don't worry about it, because you did not miss out on anything. Mummies. Set in the world of ancient mummies, this Spanish animated movie is about ex-chariot racer Tut being forced to marry a princess called Nefer under threat of having his tongue and eyes removed. However, when the greedy Lord Carnaby steals his engagement ring, Nefer, Tut, and Tut's little brother Secum journey to modern Earth to retrieve it. This is not a good movie. It's average at best. Sure, I like the idea of a world where Egyptian mummies go to rest, but really, this is just a slightly modernized ancient Egypt, except everyone is partially covered in bandages, with the only magic being this phoenix that sometimes gets used for wedding traditions. It's not exactly an imaginative fantasy setting, though to be fair, this is all apparently very accurate to ancient Egypt's take on the afterlife, so maybe that's an unfair complaint. When we get to modern Earth, it's just a series of cliche jokes about historical characters getting culture shock from today's technology, a tired type of humor that often runs out of steam very quickly, because there's only so many times you can have ancient mummies being confused by stuff.
Oh, look! We can use a human chariot! Come on! Why isn't it moving?
I was actually hoping that Nefer and Tut wouldn't become a couple, as they challenge the tradition of arranged marriages and the Hollywood cliche of male and female leads always getting together by the end. But nope, we end up with the usual contrived romantic plot, despite the fact that the film makes it very clear that these two are not a match.
What did you say your name was?
Tut the charioteer.
Whatever. Let's just get something straight, okay? Don't go getting emotionally involved because...
Hey, stop, princess. Honestly, you're not my type.
Our villain is the archetypal eccentric artifact collector that appears in every history adventure movie, right down to having an exploitative museum exhibition where our heroes are the stars. Yawn. So he's not anything to get excited about either.
Originally, the centerpiece was going to be your ring, but now you.
However, the thing that really kills this movie's potential for me has to be its pop star plot. Yeah, Nefer randomly becomes a pop princess. It really annoys me how Nefer guilts Tut for not letting her stop this serious mission for her own music career, even though he will lose his eyes and tongue if they don't find the ring in time.
It's the first time someone has ever asked me to sing.
But Nefer,
Tut!
Time is running out.
While she has nothing to lose if the ring isn't found, Tut is not a bad person if he wants to decline her pop star fantasy right now. Heck, she's the selfish one for putting her song recording before the ring, even if she says that she'll help later. Yes, it's sad that her family won't let her sing back in the afterworld, but I think threat of body mutilation definitely outbalances not being able to be the next Taylor Swift. Oh, and this plot isn't even interesting. Nefer steals a performer spotlight at a Broadway show, gets a studio recording handed to her the same night, and her song is an instant success.
This mystery girl has managed to score over 10 million hits across the globe. The girl that shocked audiences on the West End has now revealed herself to the world, and she's not stopping there.
Apparently this movie was a box office hit, and I have no idea why. Then again, vapid films tend to make the most profit. Past Calypso, this to-be original movie from the co-creator of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, is about a billionaire celebrity chef called Alfredo Manicotti who tires of a current gluten ban, so he decides to mutate himself into a pasta monster and start a pasta apocalypse. Meanwhile, Alfredo's spoiled daughter has just joined a rebellion. This is a painfully unfunny movie. I spent most of this film in dead silence, begging for a chance to feel real laughter again. It drags out the one gag of evil pasta violently killing people into a whole feature film. Most of the comedy is just cheesy puns, awkwardly long takes, or fart jokes.
A well-dressed national has been busted for trafficking gluten across international waters. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for a screening of Windbreakers. I've heard it's fartastic.
Heck, I don't think it ever finds its comedy logic or style. It jumps between different types of humor in a desperate bid to find something that sticks. Like in one scene, it's trying to be random by having a snowman at a cooking contest. But then the movie gives up that kind of surrealism and later decides to be fourth wall breaking.
Name's Kent Trey, darling. Biggest country artist on the radio. Pleasure's yours.
But it turns out that this is the only one running meta joke in the whole film. The movie's use of its 70-minute runtime is also a mess. Not only do we only have half an hour left by the time the pasta clips begins, but the film also presses the fast forward button on Emma's arc, in which she goes from being a whiny brat to a mature badass. thus making her big moment come off as unearned.
All you ever cared about was your pasta dishes and elevating your ego. You just threw money my way to keep me occupied, and I grew up a spoiled, self-centered girl.
The only appeal to this movie has to be its visuals. Alfredo has a sick villain getup that's like a gluten Cthulhu, the pasta monsters have very creative designs, and the backgrounds are basically what H.R. Geiger would cook up after eating some spag bowl. Pasta Calypso embodies the worst aspects of adult animation today, by thinking that being shocking and gory for a cartoon will make up for any unfunny jokes or boring entertainment. Trolls band together. In this third Trolls movie, we learn that Baby Branch was once in a boy band called Brozone with his own brothers, until they split. Cut to present day. It's revealed that Branch's brother Floyd has been kidnapped by two simp villains called Velvet and Veneer, who are draining Floyd's talent to become megastars. So, Branch and Poppy have to reunite Brozone to save Floyd, and along the way, Poppy meets her long-lost sister Viva. Band Together offers more of the same thing as a Trolls movie. It's yet another jukebox musical that comes off like a collection of animated music videos, sprinkled with loud noises, garish colours, and other pandering tropes.
John Dory, I have no idea why you saved these. It's incredibly disgusting.
But we don't really dive into the broken bond between Brozone until an hour in, because the film was way too interested in covering pop songs to make it the real focus.
I'm the oldest. I had to be the leader. You love bossing us around, just admit it.
While Viva and Poppy's sisterhood plot is super rushed. They excitedly reunite, share a musical number together, and then suddenly fall out. Oh, and all of this happens in under 10 minutes.
No, I can't.
I guess that's what happens when you try to squeeze the long-lost siblings plot into a film already about boy band brothers reuniting. The trailer also gave away every single big twist in the movie, so don't come into the film expecting more surprises. Heck, the trailer pretty much gave away most of the movie, so well done on that, DreamWorks marketing.
You had one job. Just the one.
The only praiseworthy part of the movie has to be the villains. Velvet and Veneer are a fun Team Rocket-style baddie duo with unique colour clay designs and awesome 80s synth fashion sense. Their scenes together are a treat whenever we cut back to them.
How's my aura?
Confident yet grateful to your teachers and everyone who got you here tonight?
That's what I'm going for.
I just wish that the film actually committed to the idea that Veneer was the sympathetic one under Velvet's thumb, because most of the time, he seems to be having guiltless fun.
It's nothing personal. I just love my sister, and all my fame, and money, and things I bought.
And his rarely shown softer side seems forced, which makes his attempts at audience sympathy come off as contradictive.
We just wanted to be famous. Honestly, my sister wanted to be famous, and truly I was too afraid to stand up to her.
Overall, I think this is the most serviceable of the three Trolls movies. It's not the worst, it's not the best, it's just passable, an average entry. The Legion of Superheroes. This DC animated movie follows Kara, aka Supergirl, struggling as a new superheroine on present Earth, so her cousin Superman sends her to a futuristic school for superheroes. If you've seen any other media about supernatural schools, then I can guarantee you've seen Legion of Superheroes. I mean, it's about a student with potential joining an academy to learn special skills, where she makes friends with the school oddballs, develops a rivalry with smug jerk Brainiac 5, and ends up having to protect her school from an evil cult. I just described every young adult novel out there, didn't I? The school itself might look majestic and exciting from the outside, but the lessons are not the focus of the movie. You might get a chance to peek inside a class or two.
So, who can solve this hyperdrive equation? Supergirl? Supergirl!
But despite the Academy being the title of the film, the movie's not really interested in it. As for our villains, well, there's this guy called Mon-El, who makes a big deal about being a super fan of Krypton, and acts extra nice towards Supergirl.
In every other way, Krypton was incredible. I know we've just met, but I really hope you decide to come train with us here at the Academy.
I will.
Really?
Yeah, you guessed it, he's a twist baddie, who, amusingly, gets killed off not long after his big reveal. The Dark Circle, though, do have this effectively eerie presence as a mysterious force, one that honestly grabbed my interest right away, mainly because their shroud of secretiveness was kind of creepy.
What? Supergirl, you coming?
But once it was revealed that this school invasion was all OG Brainiac collabing with the Dark Circle, only for him to proceed to explain everything in detail, I stopped caring.
It was the Circle who stole my brain out of my old body. It was they who regrew it, tending to me over the centuries.
No matter how scary his nightmare-fueled fusion with his own children was. However, I did enjoy Kara's quirky housemates at the school. They have really strange powers for DC characters that are both funny and weirdly cool. Plus, it's kind of fun seeing these characters coming to embrace their unusual skills. I did also find it cute that Brainiac 5 and Kara go from rivals to dating once they realise how much they have in common. Their flirting was well foreshadowed throughout the film, and their nerdy dynamic is kind of adorable.
Earth's not so bad. It's definitely got a couple of good points.
Interesting. In the name of research, we better add to those points.
Legion of Superheroes was more watchable than Warworld for sure, and it did have a few charming plots, but it's also noticeably short, wildly predictable, and super unambitious. Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham. Inspired by the work of H.P. Lovecraft and set in an alternate 1920s DC universe, this Batman movie is about the Caped Crusader dealing with a cult that worships a nation deity. I really wanted to love this movie, because Batman and Lovecraft are such a perfect combination, like chocolate and peanut butter. However, this film only tickles the potential of such an awesome crossover idea. You see, it's way more interested in Bruce beating up Lovecraft's creatures, or creating Cthulhu-esque fanfiction origins for every Gotham character.
Whoever you are, please, kill me.
Than the fascinatingly eerie depths of the author's psychological horror. It reminds me of Hollywood's brief fad of turning classic horror literature into crossover blockbusters. Average tier films that put spectacle before source material, resulting in confusing lore and shallow storytelling. Maybe that's a harsh comparison, but it's what came to mind when watching this film. Sure, we get to see Batman dealing with the madness of an impending doom, but the film's take on a mentally declining Bruce ranges from a little distracted
Doom. The great doom is coming.
To slightly stressed.
The spirit wrapped in bats.
It doesn't help that the animation is too stiff and flat to really capture true human madness. Imagine making a Lovecraftian superhero melodrama that's boring? Huge story turns like Thomas Wayne's connection to the cult or the death of Dick Grayson should have had me gasping and crying, but I felt totally nothing. The film only starts getting into the spirit of Lovecraft in the climax, finally giving us the type of cosmic terror that you would expect to come out of HP's mind. But even then, it's still more occupied with the gimmick of who would win in a fight between Monster Batman and Cthulhu. I do hope that we get a better version of this film one day, because I still stand by the immense possibilities of this crossover. Wish. King Magnifico is a beloved sorcerer who looks after all the wishes of his kingdom. But when 17-year-old Asher, who wants to become Magnifico's apprentice, finds out that the king is basically hoarding and gatekeeping all these wishes, she vows to retrieve them all from help from a magical star. Okay, so I wanted to give this film a chance. I knew it had a very polarizing reaction, and I didn't just want to impulsively jump on the hate wagon. But after watching Wish finally, yeah, I can see why the reaction has been so, Look, I appreciate the movie's sentiment about wishes being inside of us and how it's down to us to pursue our dreams, as well as how you shouldn't dictate what counts as a valid wish. But this is not a good movie. My biggest grievance is that it's very self-indulgent. This is a Disney vanity project through and through. Pretty much nearly everything in this movie is a reference to another Disney film. All the animals in the forest, yeah, they're named after Bambi or Little John. Asher's friends, they're just basically the 7 dwarfs from Snow White. They're not really characters of their own. Oh, and there's also a scene where the villain starts crushing all these different wish orbs, and they're essentially Disney scenes or Disney movies. Look, I get that this movie is supposed to be a 100-year celebration for Disney animation, but it's just way too in love with its own legacy. As a musical, I pretty much forgot most of the songs in this film, which is saying a lot because even some of Disney's worst musical movies at least have one memorable song. The only song that I kind of remember is Magnifico's musical number, but only because it's the worst song in the entire film. Like, how do you mess up a Disney baddie number? It's just so tacky and cheesy. It doesn't sound like a Disney villain song.
And this is the thanks I get. This is the thanks I get.
Our villain is just an amalgamation of every other Disney classic villain that we've had. I have a strong feeling that I'm going to forget that this villain even exists very soon. Apparently, we were going to get a Disney villain couple for this movie, which would have made for a very interesting and refreshing kind of dynamic. Plus, they were going to be the parents of Asher to make things really personal. But nope, we got Diet Jafar and a wife that's just as doting and gullible as any of Magnifico's followers. The star is cute. I won't deny how adorable the star is, but when I look at that design, it just screams toy sales to me. I'm sorry. Originally, this star was going to be a mysterious and whimsical star boy, as well as an unlikely and unconventional love interest for our lead. That's the thing about this movie, the concept art and all the ideas that were originally planned are way more interesting than the finished product. Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken. The Gilman family are a bunch of sea krakens who are hiding as humans in a seaside town. Teenage daughter Ruby might be an awkward nerd, but she's found her own friendship squad. Unfortunately, she's having trouble asking out her crush Connor to the prom, and the new girl, Chelsea, has found popularity at rapid speed. All this anxiety unleashes Ruby's inner Kraken. Confused, Ruby seeks answers from her mother, but gets nowhere. So she enters the ocean, where she learns that her grandma is the queen, who reveals that the Kraken's greatest enemy is mermaids. And Her Highness teaches her granddaughter about her powers to defend herself. Then, Chelsea suddenly outs herself as a mermaid, who convinces Ruby to help her end the mermaid and Kraken war. I've seen a few folks consider this movie to be one of the worst animated films that came out last year. Don't get me wrong, I will get into its problems. I just have to say that it's at least watchable compared to some of the garbage we got last year. I mean, I love the neon colour scheme of the movie, and really like the awesome Kraken designs. It's a fun looking film with very rubbery and expressive character animation.
Oh, hi.
We're still on for our tutoring session later, right?
Oh, yeah, Connor. We're on like polygons.
Alright.
Even at their low points, DreamWorks can still rock at their visuals. Beyond that though, yeah, this is a pretty generic movie when you boil it all down. It's DreamWorks at their safest, and it does the bare minimum with its premise. Like, the mother and daughter drama is snooze-worthy boring, because it's just the same arguments on a loop.
You told me we were hiding from monsters, and it turns out I'm the monster. You lied to me!
Think of it more as a tiny emission.
Come on, turn giant!
You could play a clip of a Ruby and Mum fight next to another bickering squabble scene, and you would totally see no difference.
You do not know the whole story.
And whose fault is that?
Hey, I tried to talk to you. I wanted to tell you everything sooner, but I also needed to keep you safe and give you a normal life.
Normal?
As for our villain Chelsea, she's one rubbish twist baddie. Oh shock, the snarky popular girl with obvious narcissism.
When suddenly, I spot little Mr. Skater Boy here, barely above water.
I'm just lucky that...
Oh, shush. Ooh, my story.
Is actually an evil manipulative mermaid.
Oh, there is no Chelsea. I am...
Nerissa.
No way, totally didn't see that coming. If we're going to keep the twist villain train going, can we at least do them well? Many folks have compared Ruby Gilman to Turning Red, which did make me realise where Ruby went wrong. You see, while watching this movie, I was way more interested in watching a math nerd teenage Kraken just trying to live her life as a human.
Any ideas? Maybe I can ask him with something epic, like an advanced quadratic equation. And when I solve it, the answer is...
Than the undersea politics of Krakens versus mermaids, because the film's opening really endeared me to Ruby's everyday life, only to interrupt it with sea creature conflict right out of nowhere. Turning Red knew that the heart of this particular premise was the relatable struggles of a teenage girl who happened to have a mystical family secret. It did not complicate itself further than that. Ruby Gilman was clearly trying to be the rebel cousin to Disney's live-action Little Mermaid remake last year. In doing so, I don't think it really ever found itself. Chicken Run: Dawn of the Nugget. Ginger, Rocky, and their fellow chickens now live in peace on an island. But Rocky and Ginger's daughter, Molly, craves for adventure in the big wide world. So she escapes the island one night, only to end up in a chicken paradise that turns out to be a brainwashing facility for Mrs. Tweedy's brand new zombie chicken slaughterhouse. I was so disappointed by this movie. There's nothing here that makes me feel like the wait for a sequel was worth it. To start with, it's weirdly bright coloured for a Chicken Run movie. I love that the OG Chicken Run embraced its bleak colour scheme to truly capture the despair and horror of Tweedy's ominous oppression. Sure, the bubbly colours fit the phoniness of the fake chicken paradise, I'll give you that, but it's like the sequel's ashamed of its dark origins, and we have to wait until the finale for the movie to match the same dread as the original.
Ginger, we can't hold them!
It's also nowhere near as funny as the original, not even close. I only laughed twice throughout the whole movie, twice at an Aardman comedy. Plus the film is way too reliant on callbacks to jokes from the first film.
We mustn't panic. No panicking. It's the perfect time to panic.
I also do not buy certain things. Like, I don't believe that Ginger would be really reluctant to help new victims of Mrs. Tweedy.
We have to hide.
Huh?
Look, I get that she has PTSD, fair enough, but the Ginger I know used the trauma she had on the farm to motivate a desire to free every chicken.
We've got to get out of here.
It also makes no sense that Mrs. Tweedy is even alive. She was literally flattened in the first film. She should be dead. Yet here she is, recycling the same shtick all over again, working with a new husband to slaughter chickens for a meat company. This film is so scared to do anything new.
That man is about as much use as a headless...
Last of all, I found the recasting very distracting and very hard to get used to. Look, I get why Mel Gibson was recast. I approve of that. But Zachary Levi sounds nothing like Gibson.
Okay, yes, it's me, but it was a long time ago.
The name's Rocky. Rocky the Rhode Island Red. Rhodes for short.
Rocky Roads.
Catchy, ain't it?
While Ginger's Julia Sawala was 100% up for coming back, but Aardman said that she sounded too old now, and she proved them wrong by re-recording her lines.
So laying eggs all your life and then getting plucked, stuffed and roasted is good enough for you, is it? So laying eggs all your life and then getting plucked, stuffed and roasted is good enough for you, is it?
So that was a crap excuse. Out of every animated film that came out last year, Chicken Run 2 was the biggest letdown for me. Taz Quest for Burger. When Little Bandicoot Quinn's chef father is kidnapped by the dastardly Rocky and his dingo pals, she joins forces with Taz in trade for her dad's burgers to save the day. When I first saw the poster for this movie, I thought it was a humble homemade fan film, so I was pretty surprised to learn that it's an official Looney Tunes movie. I'd be more forgiving of the crude animation if this was a fan's passion project, but as something greenlit by Warner Bros. Themselves, it's a cheapskate production. I guess I got used to the primitive art style after a while, but it's a shame that it's a step down from the legacies of Jones and Avery. In spite of this, is it a good movie? I'd best describe it as a mixed bag. It's your run-of-the-mill adventure in the wild that's just scene after scene of Taz protecting Quinn from attacking predators.
Well, I should really be going and screaming and going!
I can't say that it's a particularly riveting or imaginative journey. Quinn herself makes for a bubbly lead character, but her chatterboxing might become grating for some people.
Can I just ask you some questions? I won't be annoying or rude, or sometimes I'm rude by accident, but only when I'm excited. It smells awful in here.
She does have a decently sweet bond with her dad. It's nothing deep, but it's good enough to help us understand her desperation to save him herself.
Can't I read some more?
Nope, it's too dark.
Hey!
Good night, Quinn.
The friendship between Quinn and Taz, which carries the whole movie, is plagued with constant squabbling, bickering and fighting. It's the kind of forced drama that I expect from adventure films that struggle to find travel tension.
I didn't want your help. I wanted to come here by myself.
Well, me just here for Veggie Booger.
Oh, you'll get your Veggie Booger.
However, there is something cute to a chatty little girl befriending a furry Neanderthal.
But you very small bandicooty.
So, just because he's bigger, you think he's gonna squash me like a little bug?
Luckily, like a lot of mediocre adventure films, it's the villain that steals the show. Rocky is a menacing yet classy baddie who reveals himself to be Taz's adoptive father, being the only one who knows that Taz's weakness is calming music, thus creating a somewhat emotional and tense villain and hero dynamic with personal history.
Taz, what's wrong?
He's been this way since he was little. The only way to control him was with music.
I have to also say that Quest for Burger made me laugh way more than I expected as well. It's very dumb humor, but stupid comedy can be great if done well.
I was just saying that you want to sear the outside first because that traps the juices in, and then you bring the heat down, and you tell your daughter that no matter what happens, you love her very much.
What if you don't have a daughter?
And Taz is the best Looney Tune to pull off such a style of humor.
You're going to make it worse.
That was not on purpose. Oh.
Taz!
Uh-oh. Brain fell out. You take in case you need extra.
There are worse Looney Tunes movies out there, and I did find a few fresh springs in its dry desert. So, we're halfway through this video, and I would just like to let folks know that I have a Patreon, a website where you can give monthly supportive donations to creators in return for awesome rewards. Feel free to become one of my patrons today. Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2. When the Justice League randomly disappear and a monster starts haunting their headquarters, the Mystery Inc. gang are hired to investigate what's going on. However, the Justice League building goes into emergency lockdown, trapping everyone inside, with a very infuriated Lex Luthor. Scooby ends up finding Superman's beloved super dog, Crypto, who helps Scooby and the gang with their mystery. It turns out that Lex Luthor's assistant sent the Justice League to the Phantom Zone and has been using the Phantom Zone projector to generate fake creatures to scare people away from the JL headquarters for a mastermind plan. As someone who has seen every Scooby-Doo movie ever made, I have to say that this film isn't that different to any other direct-to-video Scoob movie. It offers all of the predictable beats we should expect, from obvious red herrings.
We're investigating the disappearance of the Justice League.
Those no-good do-gooders, they can stay disappeared as far as I'm concerned.
To long-winded chase montages, to the monster turning out to be fake. The mystery itself is pretty easy to crack too, because the overworked and underappreciated boss's assistant has become the go-to cliche for twist villains nowadays.
Mercedes Mercy Graves, personal assistant, driver, and bodyguard to Lex Luthor.
I already know all that.
But do you also know just how tired I am of being all of that?
That's not to say that this isn't a fun movie though. I mean, Scoob and the gang are trapped inside a superhero base, so there's lots of exciting secret rooms to explore.
It's got everything! Well, everything except for triple cream salted organic truffle butter.
Acknowledged.
And the gang can borrow costumes for their investigation.
I know!
Jeepers, Fred!
Oh, and Lex Luthor is side-splittingly funny as a comedic villain. Every scene of his had me in stitches.
Grundy may look like nothing more than a mindless brute, but I assure you, everyone has their price. Why won't anyone take my money?
It's just so hilarious seeing this grumpy billionaire narcissist lose his patience with Hanna-Barbera characters.
What's the plan? Are we building a trap or not? My driver is missing. Look how upset I am.
While the mystery isn't great, it is funny that Lex Luthor turns out to be 5 steps ahead of the actual culprit and ends up joining their scheme to prove that he's still the iconic villain he once was, which inspires a pretty exciting battle between Mystery Inc. and Justice League vehicles and Lex's giant mech army.
Is that an invisible tank?
If not, it's got a lot of firepower for a trolley.
As a crossover movie, I think it's acceptably fine. I mean, it's cute seeing Scoob meet a superhero dog to look up to and befriend. Plus, Crypto himself is a really good boy, who does a lot to help our heroes, despite not being able to talk. Plus, in the finale, he makes for a worthy rival against Lex's kryptonite-hearted Robo-Dog. There are better Scooby-Doo crossover movies out there for sure, but I guess this one's an okay effort. Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie. The dastardly mad scientist Victoria Vance tries to use a new machine to attract a super meteor, but the meteor ends up crashing into the Paw Patrol's tower. That same night, gems from the meteor give each pup a special superpower. Meanwhile, Vance has been arrested, but she meets the disgraced Mayor Humdinger in a new cell, and the two agree to work together to steal the meteor gems from Paw Patrol. Much like the first Paw Patrol movie, only one pup gets to be the star, and the rest are just supporting characters. This time, Skye has the spotlight. While this does mean that all the other pups are only here to drop one-liners, jokes, or advice, at least it's a girl's turn to shine in the lead. I do think that kids will resonate with Skye's struggles of being too small, because many preschoolers can feel disadvantaged or left out due to their size. So I do think that Skye's arc will inspire toddlers to feel better about their heights, especially when the little pup ends up having to destroy a dauntingly huge meteor all by herself in the finale, which makes for a spectacular visual metaphor for Skye's arc and empowers anyone watching who feels too small. While this is a superhero movie, I don't think that fans should get too excited about the superpower aspect. Sure, each pup receives a colourful power that fits their personality, and they do get to test their gifts out at the start, but the Paw Patrol actually spend most of the film in their new superhero vehicles, and end up losing their special crystals to the villains quite early on, so their chance to play superhero is actually very short-lived. We don't really get to see them using their superpowers against any villains until the finale. My favourite thing about this movie, though, has to be the dynamic between Vance and Humdinger. They're like a child-friendly version of Catwoman and Penguin from Batman Returns. Their jarringly opposite personalities inspire a pretty good comedy duo routine that kids will love, and parents might find funny too.
Is that Humdinger?
What's she doing out of jail?
It is me, and I hope I can count on your support in the next election.
Stop campaigning. We're fugitives on the run.
The second Paw Patrol movie isn't as good as the first, but the target audience might enjoy it just fine. However, they'll maybe want to keep their expectations low regarding the whole superhero gimmick. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Mario and Luigi are two brothers who have just started a plumbing service together. When the news reports a plumbing disaster in Brooklyn, Mario decides to prove himself by volunteering to fix it. However, Mario and Luigi accidentally fall into a magic portal. Luigi lands in the Darklands and is captured by the evil Bowser, while Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, where he befriends Toad and Princess Peach, who are at war with Bowser. Let's get the negatives out of the way first. When you look at this as a cinema-release movie, it's easy to pick apart its flaws. It's a poorly paced film that hyperactively whizzes through action set pieces, each of which are just different Mario video games, as it scrapes for excuses to transition from one video game reference to another.
That's why we're gonna need carts! Well, what are you waiting for? Pick your carts!
Sure, there's one or two quiet scenes, but these breathers don't last very long, and then we're straight back to the action-packed adrenaline marathon again. It's this rush to keep moving forward at all costs that leads to a lack of dramatic meat in the film. Emotional beats get skimmed over quite a lot. Like, there's a scene where Mario and Donkey Kong realize that they both share over-judging dads. But Illumination hops over an opportunity for character bonding and an excuse for a shouty argument. I also still think that Chris Pratt is pretty underwhelming as Mario's voice. I mean, he's only here for star power. Yeah, he's not as bad as the trailers made out, and he does at least put on a Brooklyn accent, but his performance never convinced me that he was the best man for the job.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Toad.
Mario. So this is not a dream?
However, in spite of these criticisms, I still think that this is a very fun film. Is it just pandering fan service? Oh yeah, for sure. But that's kind of what makes it so entertaining. It's a sincere love letter to Super Mario's legacy that actually looks and feels like the games it's based on, plus gives lots of beloved Mario Universe characters great portrayals and chances to shine as Illumination versions of themselves that totally fit the movie's tone and humor. Plus finds its heart in the brotherly bond between two iconic video game brothers, giving kids watching the perfect role models for positive sibling love between two men.
Nothing can hurt us as long as we're together.
While I do understand why film critics didn't like it, I also see its appeal as an action-packed, colourful popcorn movie to switch your brain off to. Barbie, Skipper and the Big Babysitting Adventure. When Barbie's sister Skipper gets a job at a water park with her new summer friends, she pitches an idea for a party bus for kids who are too small for rides. Her project is a success. However, things go wrong and the driver drives off with Skipper, her friends, plus the kids still inside. Skipper has to be the best babysitter she can and get the children back to their parents before they catch on. Now, I will admit that you can really tell that this is a straight-to-Netflix special, but is it good? It's very much a film about solidarity between teenage girls. There's no cliche backstabbing or toxic drama that a lot of girls' media has unhealthily normalized. Skipper and her pals are genuine good friends who support each other's dreams.
Step right up, people. Come on, and get your very own custom Anna Originals. Guaranteed to look great and not to break.
Oh, and I love that all of these girls have their own unique talents that get equal spotlight.
I've been waiting for this all my life.
The little kids in the film are well written and voiced too, each one acting like realistic everyday children, warts and all.
This is like the best part
I think I'm gonna be airsick.
I also respect that there's a little neurodivergent girl on the bus, because this particular diversity tends to get ignored in mainstream film representation. So more of this, please.
There's an even amount of red and black squares. It's the best game.
We also get a villain, Tammy, the theme park boss's daughter, an entitled brat who despises Skipper and tries to make her life hell. She's an effective antagonist because she's found reviews for Skipper's failed babysitting business online, and she deviously uses them as ammo against poor Skipper. However, Skipper still tries to encourage Tammy to stand up to her dad, who's been ignoring and undermining her as a manager. No matter how awful Tammy is, which is a lot, she and Skipper can still team up against the patriarchy together. All in all though, this is a decent Barbie movie, with a high-stakes babysitting story that shows that teenagers can be responsible and mature. Team Barbie fans are bound to love it.
Alright, everyone hold hands. Scary. Let's go find an adult and ask for help. I won't let anything happen to you.
Okay, Skipper.
The Magician's Elephant. When a boy called Peter learns that an elephant is the key to finding his long-lost sister, he's eager to look for the exotic animal. One day, a magician accidentally summons an elephant on stage, and the animal is taken to the palace for display. So Peter makes a deal with the king. If Peter can complete 3 royal challenges set by His Majesty, then the elephant is his. But Peter soon learns that the elephant misses his family, and he might have to sacrifice his dream. I honestly came out of this movie thinking, that was okay. It didn't wow me, but I enjoyed it just fine. The king makes for a fun taskmaster, like some kind of game show host, even if he is a bit of a twit.
Up! You will fly!
What? Fly? How?
Hello, it's supposed to be impossible! The kid just beat Goliath. You want him to bob for apples?
The fact he's deciding challenges on the spot each day makes every test entertainingly unpredictable, and Peter's solutions to each one can be equally surprising. Peter's bond with the elephant is cute, and they do have some decent screen time together, but I would not say that it moved me as much as other pet and child movies have done. Heck, when Peter eventually says goodbye to the elephant, I didn't cry, which I'm sure the film wanted me to.
It's hard to lose a friend. We have to say goodbye now.
If anything, I was more invested in the brother and sister reuniting. The movie constantly teases us over their chances of seeing each other again. It's like the film has the other half of a necklace, but it just won't give it us yet. There's even a scene where they naively come face to face without knowing the truth, and all we can do is scream at the screen for them to add 2 and 2 together.
I could write you a joke.
Sorry?
You're probably just not very funny.
Right, and I'm sure you're hilarious.
Ow!
All this build-up and tension makes their eventual real reunion all the more of a tearjerker.
Well, first of all,
alive!
I just say...
And here! And family!
I also like the film's take on magic. You see, this kingdom used to be a hotspot for the enchanted and whimsical, but a terrible war crushed any belief in magic. Sometimes it takes one person's defiance of the impossible to spark hope and faith in a society that's lost both.
Well, magic is all failure.
Failure?
I can't do it.
Nonsense! You brought an elephant through the roof. And don't you realize it started something here? The very thing you wished for.
I'm not sure what the film could have done to be better than just okay. I'm still pondering that, but it doesn't really matter in the long run, because being a satisfactory movie is better than being a boring or insufferable film. Glisten and the Merry Mission. When young elf Marzipan catches a glimpse of Glisten the mystical snow deer, she becomes determined to find the legend. Along her adventure, she befriends a bear called Grizzly, who has been kept on the naughty list despite after changing his ways, mainly because everyone finds him too scary to look at. Meanwhile, Marzipan's mom has been promoted, but no one will take her concern seriously, and the factory is facing stock troubles. As you might have noticed, it was kinda tricky for me to explain the premise to this film, because we have 3 different plots that are connected by a fishing line thread. which results in a very unfocused movie that struggles to juggle its North Pole stories, each of which only really connect towards the end. Messy narrative aside though, this is actually a pretty decent film. It has a very Christmassy atmosphere that joyfully embraces festive aesthetics and seasonal bright colours. It's bound to get kids into the December spirit on visuals alone, but I would not say that it's a shallow Christmas film. If anything, it tries to be pretty intricate and deep for a kid's Christmas movie. Firstly, it explores how it's possible to believe in internal things. Just because you can't see hope or self-confidence doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Maybe sometimes you do have to believe in something before you can see.
Okay, I believe I can do this.
Secondly, it goes out of its way to develop a rich mythology of its own by using glisten to expand on North Pole lore. I mean, the idea of a secret special reindeer who requires extra faith to be summoned is really cool and creative.
Glisten is made of stardust and faith, like all of us. Her magic comes from the spirit of Christmas. When our belief is strong, so are Glisten's powers. And that's when we can see her.
And thirdly, most interesting of all, it's willing to criticize a major Santa tradition, the naughty or nice list, by letting Marzipan use Grizzly's situation to dismantle the system.
That's not tradition!
I know, but just because someone was naughty once doesn't mean they're not good.
Now that's wowing me.
One thing I didn't mention though, is that this movie was actually produced by the famous toy company, the Build-A-Bear Workshop. Yeah, turns out that they branched out into filmmaking a few years ago. On the one hand, you can really tell that this film mainly exists as a commercial for teddy bears, which definitely raises some ethical questions. But on the other hand, I have to agree with Santa when he says that teddy bears have a humble charm to their simplicity, even if Build-A-Bear themselves overcharge on their own bears.
In all my Christmases, there's one toy everyone loves. Boys, girls, young and old, all over the world.
Wait a minute. Santa can create toys out of thin air, and the factory is worried about their stock right now?
You have to use that brand of yours. Think!
Mavka, the Forest Song. Based on the play by Lesiu Ukrinka, this Ukrainian animated movie is about a musician called Lucas who wants to save his dying granddad. So he agrees to retrieve a special leaf for the wealthy Kylina, who needs said leaf to stay young. While on his adventure, Lucas meets a forest nymph called Mavka, who decides to help Lucas find the leaf. But there's an ongoing tension between the local villagers and the forest creatures they unfairly demonize. Now, yes, the animation for this movie looks like a mobile game ad. I can see that. But it's actually a decent film, all things considered. It holds a lot of Ukrainian pride, as it celebrates Ukraine's folklore, heritage, food, fashion, and music. It never attempts to westernize itself for a bigger audience. It stays true to the play's European origins. The whole movie also reminds me of a classic Ghibli movie too. When I say that, I don't just mean the whimsical creature designs and cottagecore aesthetic. I'm also talking about the deeper and more existential aspects of a Miyazaki film. You see, Mavka wrestles between her natural naivety and distrust towards humans, two very opposite extremes.
I can't leave the forest. Humans are our enemies. I somehow managed to live without Lucas before.
When she lets herself be too trusting, she can be taken advantage of. But if she assumes the worst of humankind, then she becomes pure, unforgiving rage. She has to find a spiritual middle ground with help from both sides of the war. While our villain is the stock old lady after youth magic fairy tale trope, she's very good at taking advantage of society's superstitions, so that she can rile up the villagers' fears towards fairy tale nature, going as far as to refer to herself as a fellow villager, despite being rich and selfish, to seem more relatable.
My poor, dear, terrified fellow villagers! We underestimated the demon's power, and the results were tragic.
And when I sincerely love the flamboyant sidekick, who just wants to design clothes, but keeps being used as a humiliating pawn in Kylina's scheme. Overall, this is a good movie. Not great, but good. I think what makes it rather special though, is the fact that it took Ukrainian animation studio Animograd 7 years to produce, and they managed to finish it for release during a time of intense war. This is a Ukrainian labour of love that wears its culture with pride, while preaching a message of peace and ceasefire through fairy tale storytelling. Regardless of how you feel about the finished movie, I think that's a powerful filmmaking backstory. The Inventor. This movie is an animated biopic of the great Leonardo da Vinci that explores his time spent in France and polarizing relationship with an image-obsessed King Francis I. This movie does have an unfocused direction at times, because we're following the life of a multi-talented workaholic who dedicated himself to dozens of projects at once, but only rarely ever actually finished anything, which unfortunately doesn't exactly make for a flowing movie story. The film also doesn't really know its audience. It seems to swing between wanting to be a whimsical, horrible history-style comedy for kids, and a dark existential biopic for adults.
All they want are worthless baubles, war machines, and statues!
Making for a rather tonally unconfident film. Regardless of these very glaring issues, I still found myself very enchanted by The Inventor. There's this vintage charm to its animation style that harks back to classic Rankin Bass specials, and the endearing work of Ivor Wood, that's spliced together with beautifully animated hand-drawn dream sequences that kind of look like Da Vinci's papers brought to cartoony life.
These must be the senses. You must be sight. And you are smell.
I also enjoyed the recurring theme of science's relationship with religion. You see, Da Vinci was apparently a devoted Catholic, but he also had a deep curiosity in the human body, and where the soul could be found in it. It's an interesting dive into early science's place in a religious society.
I investigate these mysteries, the cosmos, the human body, out of curiosity. It's to learn. The outside often hides what is inside.
Leo's relationship with King Francis is the main tension of the movie though. While the king only cares about statues and power, Da Vinci sees a deeper potential to architecture and society, which makes for a riveting yet frustrating debate for humanity versus vanity.
Creating a city of ideas, of innovation, will bring peace.
Innovation? You are so naive! These kings don't care about cities and ideas. They only care about power. Their power.
The film's aim to unravel the meaning of life is a hefty one, because it's the big question, and some audiences might have unrealistic expectations for the delivery. But I feel like The Inventor comes to a simple yet meaningful conclusion, one that celebrates the importance of science, the arts, and selflessness. The Inventor is rough around the edges, and could have been better executed, I guess, but I came out of it with a warmed heart and a big smile, so there has to be something special here that makes it worth experiencing. Under the Boardwalk. Armin is a shy land crab who refuses to come out of his shell to have fun because of a past trauma involving the ocean. Then, one day, while at work, he falls for an ocean crab named Ramona. Armin tries to pursue Ramona at a nightclub, but the snobby Mako gets in the way and steals the poor guy's shell. Ramona intervenes with the bullying, but a high tide sweeps up Armin and Ramona. While Ramona and Armin have their own adventure on the boardwalk, Mako riles up a war between the land and ocean crabs. This film came right out of nowhere towards the end of 2023, so folks were surprised by its sudden release. I personally went into the movie with low expectations. I mean, Romeo and Juliet with New Jersey stereotyped crabs didn't exactly scream, oh, this is gonna be a great movie. But dang did I eat my own words once I actually saw it. Now, sure, the boardwalk adventure itself is short-lived, but that's not the point. The focus is supposed to be on the romance, which is surprisingly sweet. I particularly like the refreshing role switch, with Ramona being the fun crazy one, and Armin acting as the wet blanket. It's about time we changed up that dynamic.
So I say we take the scenic route.
Yeah, or, the route less traveled could be a fun option. That's worked for me in the past.
Ramona gets to bring Armin out of his shell with her fun energy, while Armin gives Ramona, who comes from a strict family who expects perfection, a chance to be herself.
Well, it's not the ocean, but will this tide you over for a bit?
Yeah.
Heck, when Ramona starts to dry up on land, Armin has to conquer his personal ocean phobia by pushing through the crab war while carrying a dying Ramona and bravely diving shell first into the very place that he fears more than anything. Dang, is that romantic. The film also took me back in the way it handles serious topics, like toxic masculinity and classism. The tensions of the class war creates this antagonistic atmosphere on the beach that forces a land crab called Bobby to question his violent urges because they repress his emotions and give him a bad reputation, only for him to let Mako's arrogance break his pacifism pact in a pretty shocking way for a kids' film. Speaking of Bobby, he actually befriends a little ocean crab girl called Shelley, who happens to be deaf. It's an interesting bond which addresses the ableism that hearing impaired people face every day.
Oh, hey, you know what? I got a cousin who's deaf. Do you know him?
While also letting Molly's personality and bravery shine. Heck, a character in general throughout the whole film is great deaf representation.
Stop. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, hey! Jelly!
This film is also a musical. Yeah, I know, I did not expect it to be one. But hot damn are these songs great though. I especially love Bobby's song, More Than a Meathead. It's this epic rock ballad about Bobby's insecurities as a man.
The heart is a muscle, it's the strongest one I got.
Why is a song this awesome in a movie about Shakespeare crabs?
'Cause I'm more than a meathead.
Shame on Paramount for marketing this film so poorly. It deserved so much better. The Canterville Ghost. When the American Otis family move into a British haunted mansion, their teenage daughter, Virginia, who wants to return to America, befriends its ghost Simon Canterville and challenges him to scare her family out. However, once Virginia learns of Simon's tragic backstory, she tries to help him leave purgatory. 2023 was quite an active year for British animated cinema, and I think this was one of the best we made. It's a charming adaptation of the classic Oscar Wilde short story that makes for a delightful ghost comedy. While it's not scary, it is very fun. It's Simon himself that makes it entertaining, because he's such a quirky and unlikely ghost.
Does it make the blood curdle in your veins to speak with one who has passed beyond this veil of tears and returned to walk amongst the living?
We really do feel sorry for his sad backstory too. You see, the old Duke of Cheshire tried to murder Simon, but Simon's wife Eleanor got killed instead. The Duke accused Simon of the murder and imprisoned him behind a brick wall until he died. Holy shit, is that a sad and horrible ghost origin tale.
I loved my Eleanor, so please don't judge me. I have judged myself enough.
Sure, Simon can push his hauntings too far, but he will take accountability for such mistakes.
Oh my.
I also love how this film explores science versus the supernatural. You see, Simon is from a more primitive time, and the Otis family live in an era when technology was just starting to boom. So Simon is up against residents who don't fear ghosts, thanks to science's progression, which creates this fascinating rivalry between modern man and a medieval ghost of the past.
If it's electricity you want, how about this?
Virginia's parents do try to push their daughter into dating the Duke of Cheshire, which she fairly refuses to play along with, but the Duke turns out to be charming and lovely. He could have been this arrogant snob who feels entitled to Virginia, but he's actually an adorable romantic.
Well, if I am dead, there's no one I'd rather spend eternity with. You see, Virginia, I'm afraid I love you.
But this is not a simple dating situation, because Simon, who resents any descendants of the Duke of Cheshire, acts as a thorn in their blossoming love story.
Virginia, I think you are absolutely...
Sir Simon?
Begone, vile blackguard!
Sir Simon! No!
One more thing I liked about this film was its take on the Grim Reaper. You see, the film likes to drip-feed clues for its mystery, and we frequently meet a strange gardener working in a secret garden. And it turns out that this guy is deaf himself. Not only that, he gets to challenge Simon to a duel, only to reveal that he can transform into a variety of Grim Reaper designs, including his very own murderer.
Now I get to kill you all over again.
The Canterville Ghost is basically a family-friendly Beetlejuice, a terrific spooky adventure with a strong ensemble cast, brilliant world building for its paranormal lore, and a riveting battle between science and the supernatural. It sadly went unnoticed last year, so please go check it out this year if you can. Leo the Turatara, and Squirtle the Turtle both share a home together in an elementary school class. Leo has suddenly become very self-conscious of his age, so he agrees to help all the classroom's kids with their personal problems, using his life experience, all while said kids have to deal with an over-strict substitute teacher called Miss Malkin. I am still shocked that one of the best animated movies of 2023 was made by Happy Madison. Yet, here we are. Leo himself, voiced by Adam Sandler, sounds like a sweet old granddad, which is so damn charming.
If you can take a step back, see yourself for what you are, you'll find that you're an even brighter star.
He never judges these kids as bad people, because they're not. They're just growing up and at a learning stage of their lives. Heck, some of them have pretty crappy parents. Leo can be blunt and straightforward, however, his honest criticism comes from a constructive place, and he genuinely wants to help each child become their best selves or deal with their overwhelming emotions.
My grandpa used to talk to me. He really liked science, and he would ask me questions, even if he knew the answer.
What? He sounds like a great guy.
He was my best friend.
There is a formula to each weekend that Leo spends with a child, but we can never predict how Leo will parent these kids. I mean, sometimes a kid's problem can take us by surprise and make us second guess who they really are. The biggest shocker comes from teacher Miss Malkin. She's first introduced as a scary substitute who shows no remorse.
Listening is not a favor. When you listen, you get knowledge, not a carnival prize.
But Leo's forced stay at her house helps us to see her vulnerable side. She stops being the mean teacher trope, and we see her as a human being.
I put my whole life into teaching, just to be a mere substitute. Never had my own class, never got any respect.
Now, sure, we do get lots of toilet humor and over-the-top slapstick, but you know what? Some of these juvenile jokes actually got a laugh out of me, and I do think that kids will enjoy this kind of comedy as a break from all the quiet therapy scenes. Leo is a film that proves that, if they actually bother, Happy Madison can make great movies, and that maybe they could just retire their man-child brand of film in favor of more movies like this one.
It wasn't me. You did it. You trusted someone to hear your problems. That's all we need.
Puffin Rock and the New Friends. Based on the TV show created by Cartoon Saloon and Dog Ears, this movie is about Isabel and Phoenix, who arrive on Puffin Rock after losing their home to a storm. While Phoenix makes friends right away, Isabel has a very hard time trying to adapt. So she volunteers to protect an egg, but takes things too far when she steals said egg, and then in a panic blames Marvin the otter, which leads to all the grown-ups trying to track down Marvin to save the egg. A big charm to this adorable preschool movie is Chris O'Dowd's airy voice narration.
Between climate change, pollution, and shortage of fish, puffin colonies all over the world are in danger, so they have to find new homes.
He never sounds condescending or patronizing. He's kind of like listening to an Irish dad making his own casual commentary to his kids while they watch the film together. It's downright endearing.
It's a great place to... Luna! I was in the middle of my intro.
There's something very relaxing about this island's atmosphere too. True to most Cartoon Saloon films, it finds this meditative beauty to nature.
Easy does it, lads. That's it.
As low stakes as things might feel sometimes, there's still the tension of the egg situation to keep things gripping, as well as the ominous threat of a storm that's on its way to Puffin Rock. So as laid back as this movie is, I would not say that it's free from action or excitement.
Marvin! Marvin! Oh no, where did he go? Puffin Rock?
But the best thing about this movie to me is its very authentic take on how kids feel when moving home. Everything that the Baby Shark movie failed at, the Puffin Rock movie tackles 10 times better. The film doesn't sugarcoat how Isabel is feeling. She's genuinely going through very complicated emotions, from fear of not fitting in to grief for the home that she once grew up in. It's all very real pain that will resonate with young kids in the same boat.
We were so happy there, but now it's all gone.
Puffin Rock is so beautiful, don't you think?
At the same time, the movie shows how fear can push you to make bad decisions that you will regret. But if you open up about your anxiety to folks and apologize for making wrong choices, people will be understanding.
I didn't mean for anything bad to happen. Things just got out of control. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Isabel.
Aww.
We know you didn't mean any harm.
I think that Puffin Rock and the New Friends is one of the best preschool movies ever made. A triumph in entertainment for toddlers that speaks to them about emotions that they might find confusing, while trusting them as a growing audience.
Look at that flyer.
What is Mama talking about?
When they blow away, they don't know where they're going. But they eventually find a little place to land and put down roots for themselves.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Leo, Mikey, Raph, and Donnie are a bunch of teenage mutant turtles with martial arts skills who wish that they could be accepted by humans. But their father, Splinter, is too scared to let them out into scary New York. One day, the turtles meet a gang of other mutants who seem cool, but their leader, Superfly, is hell-bent on destroying all humans with a giant machine. So, the turtles team up with teenage journalist April O'Neil to document their heroic mission to stop Superfly. I'm so glad that Spider-Verse smashed down the door for animation styles in Hollywood. Not only are we now seeing weirder and more interesting looks for animated movies, but studios seem to be encouraging this free reign too. Mutant Mayhem takes the styles of every TMNT cartoon we've had, splices them with the gritty scratchiness of the original comics, and presents us all with the cinematic scale of turtle movies of the past, resulting in something truly exceptional. I also love that it takes the most important parts of TMNT and amps those aspects up to give more depth and emotion to the film, like our heroes are teenagers, so the film totally embraces the dorky awkwardness and pop culture obsessions of actual teens.
I think humans seem kind of cool, to be honest. Beyonce,
Drake, that guy's the goat of all time.
Love to have a champagne brunch with Tom Brady. Guy Fieri seems like a fun hang, and I've always wanted to go to Flavortown.
Are they cringe to watch? Well, duh, real teenagers are very socially challenged, and are yet to learn maturity, especially ones raised by rats in a sewer their whole life.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna help people like you, just being honest.
The Turtles are also part of a chosen family, so there's far more emphasis on Splinter as an actual father for the boys, who has the same fears and concerns as any human dad.
What's going on? What are you doing up there? Don't lie, tell me. Are you in trouble? Is something wrong?
While the brothers act like typical siblings, they'll tease each other and argue.
Is it weird to have your head so far up Dad's butt?
Does it smell weird up there?
I bet it smells like cheese and Doritos.
Ha ha ha, guys.
But they've always only had each other, so they do love each other at the end of the day.
I know I said your faces were the last things I wanted to see before I died, but you know, now that we're actually about to die, there's nothing I'd rather be looking at. That was so heartfelt, Raph.
Cry. Love you, bro.
TMNT has always been about the Turtles hiding away from human society as well, so the movie deep dives into the complicated struggles of being unaccepted. And dang does the movie do a great job of making us root for their chance to fit in.
Guys, if we weren't monsters that were shunned by society and we could actually do what we wanted, what would you guys do?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd just be normal, you know?
Yeah, like go to high school, maybe get a girlfriend, go to prom.
And with your riz, not likely.
A hardship that pushes the Turtles to set out and change their reputation, which in turn inspires April to overcome her own camera anxiety, to shift the narrative on mutant representation. The fact that the news anchor in our time of need is a minority herself makes the report even more powerful.
A fly monster is attacking the city, but the turtle teens, along with a rat, warthog, stingray, crocodile, bat, frog, lizard, and cockroach lady, are in fact fighting against the monster in an attempt to save New York.
Lastly, we have our villains, who all seem really cool, each one bursting with colourful character and charming personality. They might look weird, but they're all lovable comic relief oddballs that we wish were the good guys.
Hey, what's up, bros? Come on, I'm a hugger.
Get in here. Get in. That one seems cool. I like his vibe.
Unfortunately, it's Superfly, their big brother, who has raised them to follow his lead without question, and made them feel like their only option is his plan, even though they all resent his vision deep down. That's how much of a fascinating grey area our mutant friends are.
Kinda don't want to murder everyone on Earth, and I just kinda want to sing. Briefly.
Mutant Mayhem is a real gem of 2023 that modernizes TMNT with a labor of love, while also finding the heart and soul of what makes the franchise's concept work as a movie. Elemental. Ember is a fire element who is a loyal daughter to her father, Bernie, but one day, she loses her temper with her dad's shop's customers, causing a flood in the basement that leaks in a water element called Wade. Wade and Ember work together to find the root of the leak and patch it back together with whatever they can work with. While collaborating on the wall, they end up falling in love, but have to deal with Bernie's water prejudice, as well as Ember's own insecurities about allowing her own choices. This is a story that could not have been done with humans. Director Peter Sohn has all the creative fun in the world with the fact that his characters are elements, giving his team of artists and animators full reign to embrace the textures and physics of fire, water, air, and earth. Now sure, the romance starts off with your typical meet cute, then eventually builds up to the big argument scene, but it's still a very compelling relationship, made beautiful by how they bring the best out of each other and give one another hope for their own lives.
When I met you, I thought I was drowning. But that light inside you has made me feel so alive.
There's a brewing tension between the two that comes from their fear of mixing elements, but there's also this magic there that they both want to capture deep down. So when they finally touch, chemistry is literally made. At the same time, this film is also a commentary on the immigrant experience, the pluses and the minuses. While Ember's family get to celebrate their Firish culture with pride and host a shop that brings their community together, unfortunately, prejudice against immigrants comes in many forms, and Elemental openly addresses how racism can be both quiet and loud, whether it's insensitive, condescending comments from people who think they mean well.
You speak so well and clear.
Yep, it's amazing what talking in the same language your entire life can do.
Or full-on segregation from other elements. I know some people might find the plot of wall construction to be boring, but I personally see the romantic charm to such an endeavour. I mean, if you pay attention, you'll notice that the state of the wall reflects the movie's relationship. So, a broken heart can mean a broken wall.
Wade, go.
But, Ember...
I don't love you!
I might be in the minority of those who would rank Elemental this high, but this is my list, and I personally see it as an enchanting and relaxing slice of life fantasy, which is pretty much my cup of tea. Oh, I also released a full review of Elemental last year that goes into way more detail about my opinions on the film, so please go check that out. Nimona. After a knight called Baluster is framed for murdering the queen at his knighting, he teams up with an energetic shapeshifter named Nimona to prove his innocence to his boyfriend Goldenloin and the rest of the kingdom, only for the two to uncover a conspiracy cooked up by the manipulative director. Now, I've been told that the graphic novel that inspired this movie is a lot better than the film adaptation. Maybe I will agree with that opinion once I've read the book one day. But until then, I have to say that I really enjoyed this film. Stylistically, it uses pretty cel-shaded animation to create a punk rock energy fueled by creative chaos and rebellion.
Let's break stuff.
The friendship between Baluster and Nimona is the sticky glue holding the movie together though. Their comedic routine of doe-eyed nebbish knight and chaotic metalhead shapeshifter is so hilarious that they had me in stitches.
Okay, but I leave. If you see anyone,
Murder 'em.
hide. If you see anyone, hide.
But there's also this powerful bond between them both, founded upon a mutual feeling of being unfairly mistrusted and hated. They need each other.
Stop, don't.
Hey. It's okay. You're safe. We're home.
Home?
The film also examines the destructive power of propaganda, how fascist lies can spark hate towards the marginalised, teach the next generation to share that hate, and delude good people into mistrusting those they love. However, there's nothing more punk than dismantling the system and exposing the prejudice that it's dangerously normalised.
So, yes, I framed Baluster. I killed the queen.
I can't wait for the kingdom to see this.
The film was also a milestone in animated queer cinema, because it stars a gay disabled man from lower class roots and a non-binary coded badass as our heroic leads, neither of which are completely defined by their identities. But the film is 100% unapologetic about its queerness.
They're gonna love you. Like I do.
I mean, it's based on a graphic novel written by a non-binary author.
Can you just be you, please?
I don't follow.
Go, you.
But I'm not a girl. I'm a shark.
In a time where us LGBT+ folk are being treated like monsters for just existing, and not conforming to tradition, there's a beautiful importance to an animated film about queer punks fighting against a prejudiced government, while also having each other's backs during the fight. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. In the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales meets a villain called the Spot, who has ties to Miles' past, and seeks revenge on the teenager. Meanwhile, Miles reunites with Gwen, only to be drawn into a Spider-Verse society led by the very serious Miguel O'Hara. Miles is eager to join the club, but soon learns that Miguel is determined to keep the Spider-Verse flowing, and that will mean letting Miles' dad's destined death play out. Miles, enraged and scared, betrays his fellow Spider-Folk and ventures off to protect his father. The hype for this sequel was almost galactic, so it's quite surprising how much it lived up to the long wait and teaseful marketing. It once again uses inventive and vibrant animation in spectacular ways that will make audiences' jaws drop. This is a film that tries to exceed the imagination and ambition of its predecessor's unique visuals, and actually delivers in ways that no one could have predicted. Along the way, the film pays affectionate tribute to all things Spider-Man, not as pandering nostalgia, but as genuine and sincere undying love to the franchise that inspired these films. The movie is plastered with homages and references that reflect the sheer scale of what a Spider-Verse entails.
I've got you trapped in my well-defined musculature, so don't even look.
The substance happens to match the style too, with Miles's and Gwen's arcs as teenage superheroes continuing as they contemplate their serious responsibilities and what these roles play in their personal lives. Can they be loyal to their families and to their jobs as spider heroes?
Wherever you go from here, you have to promise to take care of that little boy for me. Make sure he never forgets where he came from.
There's also this intriguing existential conundrum forced upon our characters who have to question the moral dilemma of should heroes let tragedies play out if it means keeping the balance of the universe going, an ethical debate that's far from easy to answer.
So we're just supposed to let people die because some algorithm says that that's supposed to happen? You realize how messed up that sounds, right?
You have a choice between saving one person and saving an entire world.
The Spot is also a great villain too. He's introduced as a comedic baddie to warm audiences back into the series.
So are you like a cow or a Dalmatian? I am...
the Spot. We meet again, Spider-Man.
Only for him to be developed into a serious, ominous threat against the very Spider-Verse, gaining a huge fragile ego that's been built up by the constant ridicule he's faced, and it becomes too late to calm him down.
You're not a joke, right, gang? Absolutely, completely on the music.
I don't believe in comedy. Just kidding.
See? No one here thinks you're a joke.
They won't after this.
No!
So why did I place this staggeringly great film at number 2? Well, even masterpieces can have flaws. As much as I loved this movie, and trust me, I really did, I never felt like it needed to be 2.5 hours long. There's a bunch of scenes here that do kind of drag on a bit, especially the ones that stop to exposition dump. Plus, it really does feel like an extended prologue for the third film, not helped by the fact that the movie ends with a sudden cliffhanger rather than an actual end of its own. Look, number 2 doesn't mean it's bad, folks. This is still a massive achievement for animation cinema, and I am so excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse. Before I reveal my number 1 pick, I'd just like to let everyone know that I've also made ranking videos for the years 2021 and 2022, so please go check out those videos after finishing this one. Thank you. The Boy and the Heron. After a little boy called Mahito loses his mother in a hospital fire, he moves in with his new stepmom, who is also his auntie, where Mahito meets a strange talking heron who leads him on a bizarre journey to find his biological mother. I feel like this is the movie that Hayao Miyazaki was building up to. I know it's definitely not going to be his last, but it would have been a fantastic swan song. It has all of his best qualities and themes all wrapped up in a fantastic present for us. I wouldn't say that it's a love letter to himself or some kind of vanity project, but rather a delicious stew that happens to be full of ingredients that Miyazaki loves. Heck, this is possibly Miyazaki's most personal film to date, which is saying a lot because he doesn't really let that side of him out much. As someone who has obsessively watched every Ghibli documentary ever made and researched nearly everything about Miyazaki's life, I have to say that this movie, out of anything he's ever made, is the most him. All of his philosophies and personal feelings seep through the dialogue and the story, as he explores the importance of creative responsibility and passing a legacy onto another generation. The movie is also very, very dreamlike, possibly even more dreamlike than Spirited Away. There are so many scenes in this film that take me back to my own dreams that I've had, especially when we're exploring strange places and all the otherworldly logic. But most of all, I really respect this film for not holding our hands or treating us like idiots. Miyazaki leaves it up to us to interpret a lot of things. And while the film is very surreal and possibly hard to understand on a first viewing, you can see some very interesting and deep themes going on, like the fragility of life, ancestry, what family means, and it's all delivered in a very ambiguous way, so much so that I'm so excited to watch this movie again once it's available digitally. I want a rewatch where I can start looking at the deeper layers and spotting the smaller things. So that's my official ranking for animated movies that I saw in 2023. Which was your favourite animated movie that came out last year? Let everyone know in the comment section below. I've been Jambareeqi, feel free to subscribe, like and share. Cheerio folks.